What's going on, guys? Hope everyone is doing well. As you see, I have the big monstrosity Inspire 2 with me, which is the beast of all drones, in my opinion, at least as far as cinematography is concerned. But we do have another drone coming out, apparently sometime mid-end October, which should be the Mavic 3. But the price tag is apparently $46.49, which is pretty darn high. So I've been kind of saying for a long time that they needed some kind of in-between from an Inspire 2, for example, for being the high end, and something like Mavic 2 Zoom and Mavic 2 Pros. So this to me is something that really is needed on DJI's end. Even though $4,000 is a high amount to spend on a drone, if we really are getting something that's almost Inspire 2 quality in something that's the size of a Mavic 2 Pro, for example, or an Autel Evo 2 Pro, I thought I had a couple other drones in my car with me, and I don't. With this Inspire 2, for example, you can change lenses, of course, which is something that I know the Mavic 3 won't even be able to do. So we can have different 7.5 millimeter. These are all micro four third lenses and micro four third camera, the X5S. And apparently that's what the Mavic 3 is going to have as well. So it's going to be a micro four third camera sensor, and it's going to have a 7x supposed optical zoom. So in theory, it's going to give you a bunch of different focal lengths or zooms, give you essentially what an Inspire 2 could probably do for the most part. Of course, anyone who's a real Inspire 2 operator and pilot and has a use for it probably won't even be considering a Mavic 3 as a replacement, because they know that there's nothing else that can do the job like this drone with dual operator and all that kind of good stuff. But again, if you do have a 7x optical zoom and a micro four third sensor, you are kind of in this realm. You just aren't getting quite as much drone, but at the same time, you don't have to carry this huge trunk around like you're carrying a dead body and putting it in your trunk every single time. I mean, it's a lot to kind of deal with. You got that, you got to put the camera on, which is not that big of a deal. You got to have actually in the back. So I'm going to take out the 2 batteries in the back of the Inspire. Boom, 1, 2. So we got 2 batteries. These batteries are roughly around, 200 a piece. You need 2 of them to fly. I have, I think, 5 sets of batteries, which still isn't even that much. We have this little guy, which is the 960 gigabyte SSD. So this allows me to take advantage of my ProRes license that I have, so I can capture 12-bit ProRes, essentially 4444, and whatever else I want. Basically, 960 gigabyte SSD sells for, I think, almost $1,600. I got mine at B&H, actually got a little sale price. It was around 13 something, but still, this is the price of a drone right here. So if we're trying to calculate what the Mavic 3 cost-wise is going to have, if we have, let me put this guy back in, this little guy. Okay. If we actually want to justify or try to figure out how we're going to get to $4,500, for example, it's pretty easy in my opinion. I mean, I think we're going to have, say, roughly $2,000 for the drone. Say they're going to include a smart controller. That can be another $700 to $1,000. We don't really know if they're going to actually include the same smart controller that DJI has, or if they're going to actually improve upon it. So maybe we get an updated smart controller with this Mavic 3. That can be something kind of cool. But again, they're supposedly going to have micro four third camera, 7x optical zoom, and then if we have ProRes ability, which I supposedly think we're going to have, we're going to maybe need to capture it to something. Say we have to get an SSD or something high quality memory card, mosquitoes, then that can be another easy $1,000 for the cinema package. So $2,000, smart controller, say roughly around $3,000, SSD, maybe it's going to be like a Flymore kit combo with a couple extra batteries, 2-3 extra batteries, a hub. It can easily be around $4,000 all day long. And then you got refresh with the drone. I'm sure it's going to be probably $5,000 at the end of the checkout cart process, which is not going to be fun for a lot of people. But again, if you know you need it, you're not going to be that surprised or that shocked, because you have the money and you have the funds and you know it's going to make money for you. So when you're reaching the more professional level drones, you know these things can be cash registers in the sky if you know what you're doing with them. You basically fly, you don't put it up in the air for, say, under $500, $1,000, whatever your price point is, but you make this thing work for you. And being able to have different focal lengths on a drone like this and having ProRes footage for color graders to actually deal with 10 and 12-bit footage, that is something that appeals to a lot of people. We're all used to spending roughly $1,000 to $2,000 for a drone. Nobody gripes with $2,000. That's a pretty given price point for any kind of quality drone. Whether it's a Mavic 2 Pro, an Evo 2 Pro 6K, an 8K, whatever it may be, $2,000 is basically a solid figure for a decent prosumer type drone. Now we have again an Inspire 2, which basically you can't get into for under, I would say $6,000, maybe $5,000 to $6,000. That's with the X5S. Now, if I had an X7 camera on this with the different lenses, I would be probably in around $12,000 right now. And so far, with the drone, with the X5S, with the different lenses, with the ProRes license, with 4 sets or 5 sets of batteries, with 3 different cases that I have, one, a backpack, a hard case, the GPC one right here, as you see, and then Crystal Sky. What else is there? You know, I mean, there's all kinds of little things that you need in order to get this thing. The reader, which isn't that too bad. The SSD card, which again is $1,600. This drone and this whole thing is probably around $10,000 that I have invested into it. So if I could cut this price tag in half and get to around $5,000, guess what? It's a bargain for a lot of people. I already know people that I've talked with that are Inspire 2 operators who said they may actually sell theirs and just get the Mavic 3 cinema package or whatever it may be if it is all the hype that we're supposedly going to have in that drone. So I do feel that there was a big hole or gap in the drone market as far as price was concerned for that kind of price point. We have $500 drones with the minis and the mini 2s. We have $700, $800 drones with now the Nano and the Nano Plus, and then we have the Air 2 and the Air 2S. We have the Mavic 2 Zoom, which is around $1,300, $1,500 for the most part. The Mavic 2 Pro, that's around $2,000, give or take. We have the Evo 2 Pro 6K, that's around $2,000, same kind of deal. And then we have Inspire 2s and Matrices and all those kinds of drones, which are a whole different group, but we never really had anything in between that. So again, this Mavic 3 may be a really cool drone that will fill a gap in what we basically are flying. So hopefully Autel is paying attention to this Mavic 3 Release 2 and seeing what it's going to be about. And ideally, when the Evo 3 launches, whenever that may be, I'm sure it's going to happen, they kind of implement something similar as far as price point, and maybe they do keep it at $3,500 or $4,500 and it's that much more of a drone like this Mavic 3 should be. I don't know what the price is going to be for sure. It may not even be $4,500. It may be $3,000 or $2,600 or something, but we shall see. Apparently they're going to offer a few different packages. The cinema package is what I'm talking about at the $4,500 price point. This drone is such a cool drone, and I don't think anything can touch this drone as far as just coolness factor and cinematography and all that fun stuff. But at the same time, you have to carry so much around and lug a lot around. So if you can carry a little case and have something that packs a huge punch with ProRes and with 7-time optical zoom and micro four thirds sensor, that much better sensor. I mean, I think personally when the Inspire 3, if they ever do anything with that, they're going to come out with the 1-inch sensor for the Inspire 3 with the latest transmission, whatever that may be, whenever that may be. And it will just be complete beast mode. So to wrap, honestly, I don't think a higher price tag on a Mavic 3, if it is all that it's cracked up to be, will be that big of a shocker, because there was always a gap in that price point as far as I was concerned that should have been filled a long time ago. So it is kind of good to see something that's in between, say something like this Inspire 2 and something a little bit lower like an Evo 2 Pro or Mavic 2 Pro. So now apparently it's going to be a reality, and I know it's going to be a shocker because it's almost twice the cost of a Mavic 2 Pro. If it is that much more drone, and it may be comparable to say an Inspire 2 performance, but maybe just not quite at this level of a drone, then I bet you a lot of people won't gripe at all about spending $4,000 to $5,000 on this Mavic 3 cinema package or bundle or whatever it may be called. And we shall see. I guess apparently we'll probably hear an official announcement by the end of this month. So until then, I guess we just got to wait. Let me know what you guys are going to do if you're thinking about buying a Mavic 3. If $4,000 or $5,000 is way too much for you, if you think it's a joke, if you're annoyed, if you're upset, You know, an idea is to sell a couple of your drones. Say you have 2 drones, you can maybe get 2,000-3,000 out of them, and then go ahead and buy a Mavic 3. But there's also another option. You can go to Autel. Autel's coming out with the Lite Plus, which are going to be 2 totally killer drones, and the Nano and the Nano Plus. So you can buy a Lite Plus for around $1249 and just be content and rock that thing out. Or if you don't have an Evo 2 Pro 6K, I'll tell you what, the Evo 2 Pro 6K kicks ass. It kicks ass in low light. It shoots log. If you shoot 24 or 30 frames per second, so if you shoot log in H.265, it will shoot 10-bit color. So the 6K has a 1-inch sensor. Mind you, it's not a Micro Four Third, which the Mavic 3 is going to be, which is larger, but at the same time, most people won't even be able to utilize and get the most out of an Evo 2 Pro 6K, in my opinion. So rock that thing out and then maybe one day upgrade. If you guys are not used to Autel, I would definitely say buy a Nano Plus, a Lite, or a Lite Plus first. It's a lot easier to do. You don't have to obviously spend so much money, and just try out the experience from a different manufacturer other than DJI. DJI is great, but I guarantee there's a lot of Autel people that won't even care about this Mavic 3 release because it's DJI, there's geofencing attached to it, and they just don't want that in their workflow and their experience flying drones. So to the Autel people, you know what's up, and to the DJI people, which I am too, we'll see what happens with the Mavic 3. I'm excited to see and hear what happens, and until then, hit the thumbs up if it helped out at all, if you found it informative. Subscribe if you haven't, hit the notification bell, and I will see you on the flip side. Aloha, guys. Bye.